Riley?
Here.
Boyles?
Here.
Tillman?
Here.
Gray absent, Callahan absent.
We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any items to be added, removed, changed to the agenda?
Yes, actually, we need to remove new business B, approval of the enrichment program intergovernmental agreement between the Batavia Park District and Batavia School District. That will go on next month's agenda.
Okay, so 14B is removed. Okay. All right, that brings us to item 5, the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to establish the consent agenda to approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 20th, approval of the minutes of the executive session of January 20th, approval of the paid expenditures, unpaid expenditures, treasury's report, approval of purchases, and the approval of ordinance number 345 and 346.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Foyle, second by Riley. Any other discussion?
I think we're going to give a lot
Please
of
call
that
the roll.
today. Here comes Pat.
Boyles?
Aye.
Riley?
Aye.
Tillman?
Aye.
Gray
Motion
absent,
carries.
Good to see you.
Callahan?
We're almost
Here.
done. Now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Foyle, second by Riley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, guest matters from the public. Seeing that there is none, we will move on. Item number 7, matters from the commissioners. Does anybody have anything?
I just have two quick things. One, I think Terry will, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I did attend the volunteer fair a week ago, and it was excellent, well done. I'm sure you'll elaborate in your section, so please give kudos to all those on staff and that attended and put together, also the volunteers that were there that put it together as well as participated. It was terrific. And then I attended
The inaugural fair, the inaugural fair. We're hoping to do that
right.
every year now.
Yeah, well, it was very, very good. And then also, I went to a Batavia-sponsored program, Green Night Out. That was co-sponsored by the city, and it was very it was informative and entertaining. And Robin Soderquist represented the Park District there, and she gave a nice little presentation about what we're doing as far as green, keeping things green, recycling, and all that. And so it was very good overall. And I think if we have more opportunity to do something like that, I think we should. So that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Item number 8, correspondence. We had 2 correspondence concerning a letter from the IAPD congratulating the Park District for successfully attaining distinguished accredited status, and an email from the IPRA All Conference Awards Luncheon Coordinator, if we can make sure all of those are entered appropriately. And item number 9, announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. New Horizons Preschool is now enrolling for the 2015-2016 school year. Registration must be conducted in person at the Eastside Community Center, 14 North Van Buren Street, between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Parents are asked to provide a birth certificate, updated immunizations, and deposit fees. For more information, please contact Lori McDonald at 630-406-5282. All little bunnies ages 2 to 8 are invited to hop on over to West Main Community Park on Saturday, March 28th at 10 a.m. Arrive early to get a photo with the Easter Bunny. Children will be divided into age categories at 9:45 a.m. and the hunt will begin promptly at 10. This event is free. And don't forget a camera and a basket for your goodies. And this year you can be on the lookout for special prize eggs. Don't let your four-legged furry friends miss out on the Easter fun. Join us at the Bark Park at noon on Saturday, March 28th, following the Easter egg hunt, to let your dog search for treat-filled eggs. Pre-registration is available, or on-site registration will begin at 11:30 a.m. near the entrance to the Bark Park. Come early to browse a variety of pet-friendly exhibitors. The cost is $10 for the first dog, $5 for each additional, and a portion of the proceeds will benefit Anderson Animal Shelter. For more information about any of these programs, please visit our website at bataviaparks.org or call 630-879-5235.
Awesome, thank you. Item number 10, staff reports. Any updates?
Yes, I would like to present my update. We have hired our new facility supervisor, Rebecca Atkins. She goes by the name Becca, so call her Becca. She will be taking over all of facility operations and some of our contractual teen events and most of the teen programming that we're going to be moving on with in the future. And then Amber will now be in charge of Quarry, the special events that the Park District does, and birthday parties. So we kind of took those two jobs, kind of split them up a little bit, and I will let Becca go from there if she'd like to step up and say hello and say something about herself, and I kind of put her on the spot, so I'll hear about it later on.
I'm Becca. It's nice to meet all of you. I am very happy to be here. I graduated from Illinois State with my park and recreation degree in 2010, so I'm looking forward to putting it to good use with all the activities in the next year. So,
Welcome.
Awesome, welcome.
thank you.
You do know that you have to come up and shake our hands, though, so.
I'm not going to share, so I'm going to say welcome.
Thank you.
That's very considerate.
Yeah. And as you probably know, we're not going to be offended if you just leave. So if you have to go somewhere, don't worry about offending
All
us.
right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Becca.
Any other updates?
No, sir, that'll be the end of my updates.
Should we switch it up and start from this end?
Right, since we've already started in the middle, we might as well start on the other side.
Although I would like to mention that Daddy Daughter Date Night had a record-breaking attendance.
Outstanding.
450
people.
50?
Great.
You know, it's interesting, there are commercials on TV, some of them ran during the Super Bowl, about what the effect of daddy-daughter dates and daddy-daughter dinners and dances and all that do for our young children. So I think it's outstanding that because of what we do, that the numbers have gone up. You know, it just helps, you know, with the community in general. You know, the whole "it takes a village." It came true with that stuff. So,
Thank you.
Job well done.
So to kind of further elaborate on what Kevin said, this was the first year of us offering the volunteer fair. We had about 40 vendors on site, and we estimated around 300 individuals came through. We had a really good turnout. Heard a lot of good things from the vendors, and it was a truly collaborative team effort. We had parks there, we had administrative there, we had, like, it was a really cool event to see it and to kind of see it all come together. So we did send out an evaluation to the vendors, and the committee is going to be getting together soon to kind of go through the evaluations and see how we can improve for next year. So want to mention too that New Horizons did hold an open house. A marketing plan was created this year to kind of help boost enrollment. And as I noted in my marketing report, 75 people were in attendance at the open house. Last year we had about 5, so it was a vast improvement. We really amped up the PR for it to bring people in. As of February 9th, we had a total of 79 students enrolled for this upcoming year. And in comparison, we have currently 114 enrolled. So, and we just opened enrollment. So we are on our way to exceed expectations this year. And then just want to mention too that in case you didn't know, that our brochure did take 3rd place this year, Agency Showcase. May not be 1st place, but it is continuously the highest entered category. Lots of competition, and so it's still something to be very proud of.
How many park districts in this state?
A lot.
And being 3rd, I wouldn't
Yeah.
dismiss that at all.
Yeah, so we were very excited to hear that. So.
Yes. Well done.
I just wanted to give an update about the Depot Pond rink. It is open for skating. The surface is a little bit bumpier than we would like. We have been adding water with this cold temperature to help smooth out the surface, but please be advised that the areas that we would recommend that you would use would be the areas that are cleared and open for skating. Wandering off of those areas would not be advisable because of how bumpy it is and just not knowing exactly what condition the ice is in. We are on the tail end of our season. We usually kind of benchmark February 14th is when the ice starts to change how it's holding up. It becomes a little grayer, more oxygenated, weaker. So with this bitter cold we have this week and up until the weekend, I foresee that we'll have some good skating, but dress warm and be safe. The last thing would be to make sure you watch the rules, signs, and the flags. Green is open for skating, red is closed, and I would not venture out onto the ice if we had the red flags. So, thank you.
Thank you.
One update I would like to add to my staff report is I did receive on last Wednesday the official letter stating that we did win the GFOA award for the annual audit. I called them and asked them to push us up earlier. We normally don't know till May or June, but because we did change the fiscal year, we needed to know earlier than May or June. The report will be issued and already been approved by you. So we were able to push it up and they sent out the award, so I'm very excited. 4th year in a row.
Outstanding.
You'll see that in correspondence next month. Rita actually received the phone call in between when the board packet was uploaded already and this board meeting, so you'll get to hear or get to see the letter firsthand next month.
Cool.
And last but not least, I'm just happy we're going to be going back. We're going to be going out tomorrow. We're releasing the bid for the new playground poured and play surface down at the Riverwalk and around the little kids statue, the Circle of Peace statue, something we've been talking about since the day it went in. We have wanted to get a safety surface, something that's going to really hold up now. It's going to be tremendous. So, and that'll be done by into the middle of summer, so we'll get a lot of use out of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions to staff about the staff reports? I'm going to flip a couple things since Bill is here. We're going to flip item 11A and 12A so we can move right into presentations. So Bill McGrath is here from the city of Batavia to talk about the Houston Streetscape concept plans. Hi, Bill.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me. I don't know how much you all know, but this is, we've been working on this Houston Street project for probably 3 years. It's bounced back and forth from different years for construction, depending on how complex other parts of the project got. But we are finally getting ready to go ahead with the project. Our intention is to have plans done by the end of March and start construction in June. Construction will go till October. We've been working closely with Jim and Carla, but everybody will be working with our staff on access to make sure that the patrons of the depot and the patrons of the Riverwalk have a safe way to cross Houston Street. There will only be access to go perpendicularly across Houston Street because it's a total rebuild down to the new base, new storms, new curbs, the whole shot. When we first started we've gone through several iterations of this plan, and and during the middle of the iterations, we had an election with a change of about 40% of our city council members, and with that came a change in how they visualized the Houston Street project. Before that election, we actually had a separate bikeway as part of the street, but it actually was curved off away from traffic. But with that came pretty significant loss of parking. And we were taking the parking from diagonal to parallel. And as the council talked about that more and looked at it, there were several issues rose, and they really basically felt that now was not the time to take parking away from that area, and that, especially it being the Riverwalk, all the parking there was under stress. So they asked us to go back to a diagonal parking plan, and they did not care for the separate bike way, but there wasn't room anyway once you went back to diagonal. So then we were left with the issue of how to deal with the path that exists now, which is kind of separated into a bike path and a pedestrian path, although the pedestrian path kind of breaks at what we kind of call the Fountain Plaza. It kind of like dead ends into a pillar. So we're trying to work with that and acknowledge that even though it's part of a regional bike trail, we don't want people racing through there, and we'd like to do something to make people slow down a little bit, and maybe make them consider this as a separate place. The fact is, we have a very good safety record. We have very few incidents on that area of bike path, even during times when people are heading into the park for various things. So that's a good thought. Then we, these projects, as you start talking about them, you can't work with them in a vacuum. So then you start looking at the impacts on what's outside of the project boundaries. And the two issues that we came at that impact the Park District were the Depot Museum, which we're calling kind of knowing what the future plans are hoped to be, we're kind of calling that the museum campus. And then the Fountain Plaza, which we think never really, I think it was informally added to the Riverwalk during its creation, and I don't think it's ever really fulfilled maybe what visions were for it. But in any event, the trees in it have died, and we thought that while we're going past those two areas, we should acknowledge that they're there and try and incorporate them or deal with them for this project. So we've met with, as I said, Carla and Jim Eby, and we are going to make sure that we provide the access that they want to the Depot Museum. We're very sensitive about the view of the Depot Museum, and although our planners, excellent people, but they have their tree stamp, you know how they like trees. So you may see a plan here that's got a lot of trees. I can assure you that we're very concerned about the views of the depot. So when you see the trees that are there, they're not going to be there. We're going to work with the district on lighting of the front of the Depot Museum. There's some ADA ramps we're going to work with. So I think originally, budget-wise, we were hoping to even go even north of the current train car so that we could have some kind of entryway and start changing the terrain, whether it was pavers or just exposed aggregate in different places to give some cues to people that they're now entering the downtown and they just need to like chill. And but money seems to be an issue, so I think we'll come back to that later. Maybe we'll do something as the museum campus develops further. But we do have some old cast iron columns that have been saved that we may try and turn into kind of a entry arch from the path coming south into the museum campus that we'll certainly work with you on. The second issue that we have is the Fountain Plaza and what to do with that. We didn't want to go ahead and come up with a new surface and just ignore the Fountain Plaza. So I'm kind of here to see about your interest in kind of a partnership to work with the plaza. And so I guess I've got a slide. You can skip the first two, Jim. This is how things used to be. This is how this used to be, and then now we're going on to the final concept and one more. So the concept you're seeing here looks a little different, but the notion was to originally try not to have such a strict separation between the bike and the pedestrian area, in the hopes that these islands, which we're calling them, the islands would be spaced far enough apart so that if somebody happened to be on one side or walking on one side of the path, there'd be plenty of room and opportunity for a bicyclist to, split through some islands and go on the other side. As we've talked more and more, talked to people who actually work with this area, I think the fact is that most people just stay on the right. So I think naturally, people are just going to have to be working with each other, and it's a multi-use track. Every other part of the bike trail is multi-use, and so we're going to do what we can to just make sure that people honor that. And as I say, we don't have a lot of injuries or accidents there. The concept of the islands was to try and break up this expanse of pavement that we have with Houston Street being so wide and then diagonal parking. And with the diagonal parking, we've chosen to gain some extra width, we've chosen to take out I think it's a 2 or 3 foot parkway that runs along there, because there'll be some car overhangs there, and it'll give a little more width, so as people come from between their cars to access the river walk, there's a little more room so they can see what's going on before they step right into onto the trail. And then the islands, the plan at the moment is for them to be low enough curved so that they're not attractive to the borders, but still be able to, hold some dirt in. There'll be a combination of plantings and native grasses and things like that. They'll all be, there'll be an irrigation system, so there'll be, hopefully the maintenance will be minimized as much as possible. And then in most of the islands, there will probably either be a tree or a bench. It's still really conceptual at the moment. We're trying to make our corners large so that where people are waiting to cross a street, and especially if they have a bicycle with them, there's plenty of room. They can actually be kind of off the trail while they're waiting to cross. Eventually, there'll be some, we'll be working with you and the Bicycle Commission on some wayfinding, because certainly the depot and then the plaza by City Hall are really important areas for people to make choices about where they're going on the path, or whether they're going to go south or go back north or what have you. So that's also in the future. If you notice, so on the Fountain Plaza, what we're proposing, and again, this is conceptual, to try and include whatever surface it happens with the pedestrian, the trail in that area, to extend that into the Fountain Plaza so that it is all one area. We're trying to get rid of separations if we can. The plan is to remove the dead trees, relocate with your permission, etc., a couple of the Memorial Riverwalk plaques, and put another island kind of where this shows now, and then that island would actually be a seating area with benches that basically face the north, so people can look at the fountain, look at the view shed up to the north, and have it be maybe a little more friendly for people to go and actually stay. Not sure. And then over by the depot, the plan is to work with placing an island which can be kind of a buffer to the depot, so that when people are coming from the north, they don't make this sharp left-hand turn and come into, either your volunteers or people trying to go into the depot museum, or run into somebody coming from the east. So we're going to try and work with that island, make sure that it's kind of a broad, gentle curve around the depot area, and then again slow them down with some use of some different textures. In the main, I think the materials will be concrete. We have about 5,000 square feet of pavers that we have left from River Street, so we're going to use those in the corners. And I think our plan is, if you like it, we wanted to start out with the plaza in the middle and make sure that's all done with the same kind of pavers, and then move out to the corners, and then the rest will be concrete. It'll be with different kinds of textures, because we are looking at something that's low maintenance. We're just not going to put everything in pavers because of the expense and the possible maintenance, but actually the expense, because you have to put basically a street underneath the pavers. The crosswalks, including the mid-block crosswalk, that'll be the same kind of surface that we've used at Wilson Street. It's it's a, I don't know, it's a space-age plastic of some sort. That's all I know. They melt it and then they stamp it, and it looks like it's very, very durable. It looks really nice. And I guess that's basically it. So what we're asking for, I think ultimately we would, I'm thinking out loud, maybe have a, I don't know whether we'd actually have to have an intergovernmental agreement, but whether we do or not, I think what we're proposing is to stay in really close communication with you and the staff as we're getting to this design, and just make sure that we're on top of exactly what your thoughts are. And that's all I can say, because this is conceptual. We've let the engineers loose, so I think the main things we'd like to know is your consideration of us kind of including the rest of the Fountain Plaza into this, or whether we should just, leave it and put a concrete curb in and save it for another day. And, your sense of these island things, which, again, we don't intend to have as many trees as is shown here, because we don't want to block the view of the Riverwalk or the Bond Center, particularly the Depot Museum. So with that, I'm just been sent here to get some reactions, and that's it.
Bill, how wide is this bike path?
I think aside from the islands, it's 10 feet on the north side and I believe 9 feet on the south side. So 9 feet minus a 2-foot overhang gives a 7-foot clear area. And then, as I say, I think it's 10 feet on the north. So it's
Really
a lot of
wide.
room.
Is the tearing up the street going all the way from Island to 31, or is it stopping at Water Street? Is it the whole?
No, it's going all the way up to Batavia Avenue.
Okay.
We'll be, we're going to finally be getting a sidewalk in on the north side of the street. It'll be an extra wide sidewalk because we consider that to be actually a pathway to get to the west side of the city. There's going to be a new crossing at Houston Street, which will give, it'll include a safety island. But then over at McKee Street, because it's the legal distance, or it's far enough away from Wilson, there will be a pedestrian activated flashing signal so people can cross there. So part of this project is an access issue project. We're putting in 6 of those pedestrian activated signals. There's one here, there'll be one at Union, one down at Millview to get across to Les Aarons and the bike trail. And then there's 3 on Route 25, just where they are, I can't recall at the moment. So, let's see, we're redoing the sidewalk. Anytime you work downtown, it's like, you're working shoulder to shoulder. So the infamous walk on the south side of that first block down the hill will be torn out. It'll be widened only by 1 foot, but every foot you can get here is important to us. So that'll all be new. We're working with the open range folks. I think if you are familiar with that corner, there's a low retaining wall that's there. They're going to work with us. I think we're going to totally get rid of the retaining wall. We'll make the corner nice and big and safe, and then we'll slope that corner up to what they hope to be is a new wall for a patio, open fireplace, and their parking lot will be gone. It'll all be patio and a bags court, and it's pretty exciting, and that they really want to take advantage of their view of the depot and the path. So a big bike area, and the lighting. I think the lighting on for the pedestrian scale lighting will be off the quote-unquote path in the grass, so we can maintain as much as usable as we can, and those will be the traditional the Riverwalk lights, we call them. The lights, the roadway lights, we're still investigating, but we're making sure we can get these supplied. We're going to use the same LED lights that we use on River Street, but they'll have to be a bigger scale because they need to light up the street. So the kind of the flying saucer lights. I think benches will be similar to what what you see on Wilson Street. We'll be putting in trash cans, just make it more friendly to people who are there. We're hoping to site some kind of vertical element somewhere. It might end up over on the open range corner. It might end up at the corner of Wilson and, Houston and Island. But that's in the future. That our budget won't allow that at the moment. So it may include, this concept plan shows it being pretty straight. There may be a few wiggles, especially on the eastern end of it, which we will, to try and keep that path as wide as possible and to kind of work with the situation we have now with the pillar that's in the middle of that. So.
And Carla's happy because bus parking will be allowed in the diagonal parking spots for field trips.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna sign. There's 3 or 4 spaces across Water Street from the depot. There's 3 or 4 spaces there, and we think we're just gonna permanently sign those, or for certain hours that they're for your depot volunteers only, because they need just an easy way to get over and work there. We thought about trying to make that a bus area, but it's very difficult. It's probably easy to get the bus in. Getting it turned around at Waterford is probably a problem, but we're gonna come up with a device. We're either gonna give Carla some cones, or I think we'll come up with some signage or something that they can flip over so that some of the diagonal parking is just closed off for the time or the day you're gonna have a bus come in.
So would this area become part of our maintenance agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2 is, have they done these islands anywhere else, Bill?
Well, they have. I don't know if they've done actually in this kind of application.
Okay.
They were trying to do something a little different than your plain old square planters.
Sure.
This is a toned down concept from what we first
Big time.
What we first saw.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Well, and Bill had mentioned that the city might be looking into revisiting our maintenance agreement. Right now, it's a 60-40 split, but we may go to a 50-50 split because of the extra maintenance that might be required.
I don't cycle down this way very often. I'd be interested to hear what some of the cyclists, maybe the organizations that do a lot of cycling about the islands. I think they're a good idea. From the picture here, it looks like it might be too nice for people to think that that cyclists are not allowed.
there may be actually some signage that show, there will be signs that shows them that is the path. I think there's all different kinds of bikers. The extreme bicyclists will not be here at all. They're west of town. The fast local bicyclists won't be here. They're in the streets. So what we're really trying to design this for is the parent who's never been here before, has a kid in a trailer behind a bike, and gets to a corner and is trying to figure out, where do I go? And has a place to stop that bike and look at a map or something without, feeling that they're stopping in the middle of the path with people rushing by, or that they're too close to a corner. It's really about making all the corners in town little places all by themselves and have the right signage and stuff. And again, going back to the open range, I think they're going to have a little bike, they're going to have an air compressor, the whole shot to be, I think the whole idea is to be a little better host as people come through. So I don't, it's kind of a crapshoot on the islands, but what the heck? It's just concrete curbs.
Right.
And it'll slow people down. If they're kind of an obstruction, it'll slow people down. So that's okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So if you guys are okay with that, so I'm saying it's okay for us to kind of work the plaza in with this design and just, we have Jim comes to all of our meetings, and, I'm sure and we send everything to Allison and Carla, and I'm sure if the hair starts sticking up or something like that, then they'll let us know, and we
have a very open
Well,
dialogue.
I would think it would be a shame not to try and keep an ear to the ground and incorporate this. I mean, here's an opportunity once in, 50 years to try to incorporate a redesign of the street and, make that whole area more pedestrian friendly and the whole thing. So, I would certainly think that would be the right thing to do, so.
Okay, and we'll just make sure that we keep, I'm sorry.
Yes, agree.
Okay, we'll just keep our strong bond with you as we go through this thing. And hopefully it'll turn out. It's going to be a nightmare project. There's no question about it. We'll be lucky to get done by October, and I know, thank you. I know we're forcing you to move Windmill City Fest. There's just no way it could happen. And, we've had to reroute some of the races.
Don't thank us yet. Don't thank us yet.
We're going to assist you at whatever location you end up at. So I think our GIS guy was just drafted to be part
Excellent.
of the team.
Excellent.
So that's all good. So anyway, well, good.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And Bill, thank you so much for, again, the open dialogue and inviting us to the table from the very beginning. We certainly appreciate the opportunity that, a lot of it isn't our jurisdiction, but certainly the areas around the Depot Museum and some.
I think pretty much everybody, we all have pretty much a joint ownership sense of this whole area. I think we've been ignoring property lines for years, so.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
Start
true.
now. Looking at it now.
This is true.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Back to my other.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Another hard copy.
Oh, yeah, you can pull a jump drive.
I'll just leave them here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bill?
Bill.
Bill?
On your jump ring.
You have to hit the button again.
Hit the button
Hit the power
twice.
button again, twice.
And ladies and gentlemen at BATV, we are experiencing technical difficulties.
I believe the problem is in between chair and keyboard.
Are you bicycling back to City Hall? Are you bicycling back to City Hall? Good night. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
And we are back.
And to continue, Executive Director's Report, Strategic Master Plan Update.
Yes. So inside your board packet, you have a delightful 21 pages of district goals and objectives. Those have been extracted from the strategic master plan, the mother document per se, and also work plan goals and scorecards that the leadership team and I have developed. So these are tangible goals. If you were to open up our strategic master plan from 2012, they're not as easy to find. They're kind of buried a little bit in narrative. So this document is a living, breathing document where this year's work plan goals and scorecard objectives have been derived from. So you'll see progress since the implementation of this plan in 2012. You'll see some areas that maybe, little pockets that have been deferred into other years. You'll see some progress reports, but really this plan is something that we're sinking our teeth into and we're taking it seriously. And I would love for the board to just become more familiar with it as we've already developed the 2015 plans for this year. And to be honest, I think the current strategic master plan was really only a 5-year plan. I really don't think it was a 7 to 10-year plan as it was originally intended. So my recommendation would be that next month we host a visioning meeting, the leadership team and the park board, and we discuss kind of the future initiatives and whether we want to do a community needs assessment in 2016, get our barometer reading on the public. But at this point, I wanted you to see kind of where we're at, and I think we're about 75% of the way through our current strategic master plan, and staff feels great about it, as you can tell from the staff reports and the accomplishments even in the annual reports over the years. But we'd love to, maybe after this meeting, I can send an email out, we can set a date for that visioning meeting so we can all come to the table again and start to dream the dream and get everything out on the table to figure out what the short-term and long-term goals are going to be moving forward. Now, Pat lost his voice, and I keep looking at him, so I'll look at the other. I don't know sign language, or else or Morse code, or else I would.
It's a quiet meeting.
I have a lot to say. I'm not going to say it based on you losing your voice, but
There's a joke in there somewhere.
there is a ton of jokes. They're writing themselves.
So I would like to make it a best practice, per the distinguished accreditation, make it a best practice to bring these district goals and objectives before you each year. If you'd like, I can continue on a yearly basis to do it in this particular document, or I can do it with staff's work plan goals and scorecards, which really marry up to this.
Simpler the better.
Yeah.
It's a good format.
Yeah, I like this.
I don't know, I guess I'd appreciate maybe just something and not to make this complicated, but just a little spreadsheet, just kind of listing the goals and maybe, 2013, 2014, 2015, and a check mark or a in progress or,
Okay.
something kind of just an at a glance, and I don't mean to create anything little.
It's just creating a different instrument or another tool in addition to this one. But is that the consensus of the board? Is that what you'd like me to do?
So you're talking about identifying this with some boxes on the
Just kind
right-hand
of put this
side?
on a spreadsheet so you can vision it.
I like the write-up. If you had just a one-pager with,
Summary.
some summary on it, that would be fine, but I'm happy with this format.
Yeah, whatever. I like this document. I don't know, maybe if you could just take this part and make a PDF out of it and stick it on the, somewhere in our, the extranet, so we can see it, refer back to it. instead of
Sure,
digging
I would
through
love
this all
to.
the time.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Oh, Shelley just said it's there.
Oh,
Oh, it was?
Just today. I put
Oh,
the new
today.
version.
I was looking yesterday. I didn't see it.
right, right.
You're good. Our extranet got us.
Yeah.
She was reading your mind. She must have had a
Something along
feeling.
those lines, so thank you. And then if you could do something like with Gary, then it'd even be better, just to kind of see.
Okay.
But it's nice to have some of the dialogue here,
I like the write-up.
I mean, being
Yeah,
that we
I
are
do.
75% of the way through, a lot of it would be, this is what we have done. So our annual reports really are kind of that timeline for us, but if you want me to create an additional document, I can.
I'm kind of seeing it kind of the way, Jim does it for some of the
Capital projects.
capital projects we have coming, just so you can kind of see where we're at and where things are planned.
Sure,
and-
maybe I can just use like a lot of the same, like
Similar
goal A,
format.
short-term,
Yeah.
number one. Okay.
Well, I think the color coding in here, as far as when you're identifying particular items for, completed or whatever, I think it needs to stay in this document like that too. So, because it pops right out at you that this one is something that has some.
I was trying to do something that would be a taste for all,
Yeah.
but I'll do
Yeah.
an additional.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, and then the other tasty bit of information I have that Bill McGrath hit upon is that Windmill City Festival is going to be moved. We currently have a meeting with the community leaders to discuss the new location, and at the next board meeting, we will release which park that is going to be, because we would like to let the residents and the neighbors near that park know first before we divulge too much information.
Good idea.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Okay.
Yep, and that's a wrap.
Any questions on that? Okay. Item number 14, new business, approval of the contract for Engstrom Park renovation Phase 2.
This is a really nice, straightforward, this was a good bid. We got 5 good bidders out of 12 that were actual contractors that picked up plans. Hacienda Landscape are the folks that did the poured in place for us out at South Mill Creek last summer. They have been very active in bidding here in the last few years. You can see that they, with the alternate 1 and alternate 2 added in, they are only a few $100 cheaper than Fuerte Systems, who is the contractor that did last year's Engstrom project, successfully, obviously. But our recommendation is to go ahead and go with Hacienda. And the fact that we were as far under budget as we were is going to allow us to do that extra siding at the ball field and the the vinyl fencing, or vinyl coating on the fence that both we and BYB had hoped, but knew that that might not happen if our budget was a little too much, so. The question came up in staff and with our consultants as to how did we get so far under? Were we kind of off on our numbers? And no, the numbers that were used for our budget were real numbers. They go through and project exactly what they think it's going to cost based on former projects within the year. This is a time of season project. We're bidding it here right at the beginning of the year, and this is one of the things that's really helped us by moving our fiscal year. We aren't stretching a project into 2 years anymore. We're going to be able to start and finish in a budget year, so it's going to be great.
And when do you think this will be started and finished?
Well, the plan is that we're going to start as soon as we can get going. You're going to award it tonight, hopefully. We're going to get the paperwork going with the contractor. As soon as the weather breaks, they should be able to start doing some stuff. We are going to, that would put it in April, hopefully, or early May. There is a planned stoppage in the center for things to happen later in the summer, and then it should be done no later than the first part of August, we're hoping. So we actually might get some fall ball on the field, maybe.
Okay.
That'll be nice. Yeah.
On the black vinyl coated fence, is that one of those roll-out fences?
No, that's the backstop, and the side fences for the ball field are just going to have that vinyl coating on it instead of just being bare galvanized metal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just kind of blacks it out better.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then the side is that?
The side is a ring that's,
Around the side?
this is a bare infield, a skinned infield, by request of BYB and our sports people.
Okay.
This is just a ring around the outside edge where we're going to reshape the outer edge of the infield so that it actually comes back in quicker and we don't have to wait for seed to germinate back there in case we don't get a good grass growing year again.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I entertain a motion to award the contract for the Inkstrom Park renovation Phase 2 to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Hacienda Landscaping, in the amount of $120,089.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Foyle, second by Riley. Please call the roll.
Foils,
Aye.
Riley,
Aye.
Tillman,
Aye.
Gray absent, Callahan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Off you go. I believe we have nothing for Fox Valley Special Rec, or do we?
Fox Valley Special Recreation Association had their annual dinner in January, and Recreation Facility Supervisor Amber Smith was the facility supervisor and is now the recreation supervisor in charge of special events in the Hall Quarry Beach. A lot of adjusting of job titles. And she attended on behalf of the district.
Awesome. Item number 16, executive session for pending litigation 2C11. Do we have any business after that? Do we know?
No business after.
Entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation 2C11.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Foyles, motion by Foyles, second by Riley. Is this just a, please call the roll.
Foils,
Aye.
Riley,
Aye.
Tillman,
Aye.
Gray absent, Callahan.
Aye.
We are in executive session, and seeing that we don't have any other business in front of the board, we can just say that we're not going to be coming back afterward, right? Right. Okay. Thank you. We're in executive session.
See you next month.
Thank you.